Afternoon everyone. So just a quick update. As explained in the last video, the ignition, I think, well, there is an issue with the ignition. I'm hoping that's the main problem we've been experiencing, but anyway, I've had to replace the ignition, so I've been able to get hold of this. So this is an electronic ignition module, and this basically replaces the old-fashioned points and condenser that are in your distributor. So if you've got an old car and you run that old setup, these can be or should be an improvement. I've run them in a few of their older VWs before. They've always been no problem. So fingers crossed, this is going to solve an issue. Maybe not the main issue, but it's definitely going to solve an issue, because with that screw being cross-threaded, I can't put points back in really. But this is only because the points, I don't know if the points basically open and close as the distributor goes round, and that's what helps generate a spark and move it between the distributor and the spark plugs. The problem with when you have to set them is you use a little screw to sort of hold them in place, and that screw is cross-threaded. So it's critical that they're set to a certain size so you get the right spark. The problem I've got is obviously with that screw not being holding, they've been able to move around and close and open and all sorts of bits and pieces. So that's potentially one issue we're dealing with. The benefit of this is it's only got to be held in place. It doesn't need to move. All the ignition and stuff is done inside this module. So I can use a self-tapping screw to just screw straight through that hole and just hold it in place. It needs some heat paste in it and a few other bits, but generally it's pretty good. I got this from a company called AccuSpark. Not sponsored or anything. They are a very good maker of these electronic ignition modules. They do for loads of classic cars. And the power of Facebook again. I went on last night and said, does anybody know a solution, because I couldn't find the particular model on AccuSpark's website. Several people popped up, one guy in particular, Elvis, come up and said, this is the one you want, order it from and you can collect them. And we're lucky enough that they're just down the road from us, about a 20-minute drive. Customer service from these guys wasn't fantastic, but you know, the point is we've got it, we're able to go to the premises and collect it, and hopefully it's going to solve our issue. So I'm just finishing off at work for the day. Got a few bits and pieces running I've got to finish. Once I've done that, I'll be home, and hopefully we'll get this fitted, and fingers crossed the van will fire up and be in a better place. But I'll update you in a little while. So. Okay, so I've been back from work for a little while. I've been playing around with the ignition, and yeah, hopefully things are good. So I'll spin you around and I'll show you exactly what I mean in a bit. So these are the old points, and they sort of sit in a distributor, which is over there, and they, as the distributor rotates, this opens and closes. So there's a screw that sits in here, and that's the screw that's stripped. So it meant that instead of being able to hold these in a position where they were opening, they're obviously able to move around a fair bit. So that's potentially why we've had these problems. So this is the condenser, which this sort of plugs into that, and then that goes off into the low tension side of the ignition. So what we've done is we've fitted the AccuSpark kit 16, which is for the LT, well, for this type of engine anyway. So this is it. Get a screwdriver. So this is it in here. So this is basically a module. Then instead of opening and closing it, all the spark and bits and bobs are all done inside, wired off down to the coil and then into the original wiring. It's a bit of a mess there, but I'm not 100% certain this is the actual issue we were dealing with. But like I said, it's something that had to be addressed. So we'll put it all back together and take it for a drive and see how things go. Hopefully I'll update you shortly with some great news, or there's something else going on, but hopefully this is what it is. So speak to you in a bit. Well, good morning. So this is literally the test drive about to go off in Bertha. I wasn't able to take her for a drive last night because it got a bit late. I had other things to do, and we have left ourselves a little bit low on fuel after just trying to limp ourselves home the other day. So initial signs are pretty good. The van's ticking over nice and even. Didn't need half as much choke to get going, so fingers crossed we're not going to find any problems. But here we go. Get the reverse camera just in case. So we just waiting to see if we stutter or conk out or just generally struggle to drive. So hopefully we're all good. But proof of the pudding, as they say. In this case, is in the drive. So I don't normally take Bertha to work, but Sharon's coming over to do a pop-up shop for us outside and do like crafty bits and wood burning and stuff. So it makes it's going to be a nice day, and we're running up straight away. No, still got the same problem. Still got the same. That's a real shame. So I was hoping that was going to be the problem, but unfortunately not. So there's something else going on. That's bloody disappointing, to say the least. We'll see what happens. We'll give it a bit more of a drive, see what happens. But I mean, I don't know, maybe that was just clearing out all the unburned stuff. Don't know. See if it does it again. It's normally at that sort of point between the gears, you know, when you sort of either maybe sort of struggling up a hill on an old vehicle, and then you try and gun it into third, and we try and get into third, and you're a bit low on the revs maybe. It's that sort of time that it struggles. But at the moment, yeah, not sure. So anyway, I'll give her a bit more of a drive, and I'll update you guys shortly. Okay, so unfortunately definitely hasn't cleared the problem. Yeah, we've still got exactly the same issue. The van is running better, but you obviously can't feel it on your seat or anything, but there's a hesitation there. We've got no go. Then we get the engine back, and then we start to be able to pull away, and then it's fairly consistent. But I mean, I'm doing 20 miles an hour because we've lost all our momentum on a hill. It's not the quickest anyway. And there we go again, just losing a bit more again, just losing it. There's a little pop. So I'm assuming we're losing spark because we've got fuel being pumped in. So now it's either coil or plugs and leads, I think. So we'll have to try all these bits again. So unfortunately back to the drawing board. There we go. As soon as you try and accelerate anything over like sort of standard. Oh, come on, Bertha. And then we can sort of get going again to the gentle. Again, into the gentle. Again, into fourth. Then we've got problems there. Can't quite. Oh, coming back a little bit now. It's sort of backed off a bit. So, yeah, maybe it's a coil. Don't know. We're gonna have to get some more bits ordered up, and I'll update you ASAP. Okay, so quick update. Obviously, still no better than it was, unfortunately. Drove it to work today, though, obviously, and still got the issue. So we've now got this, which is a new coil. We have what is known as a ballast ignition. So there's a big relay, or a big, what's the word? Basically like a big suppressor, which the ignition goes through. So this is the coil that will work with both. So I've got this just in case. So home, fit that, take it for a test drive, see what happens. We have got plugs and leads on order as well, but they're not going to be here for a few days, unfortunately. So, but ideally, want to try and do it one step at a time. So if we do find a problem, I know that's where we were. So yeah, I'll update in a bit. Cheers. Okay, So forgive me looking a bit bedraggled. We've got an update, and it's not the update I was expecting. So obviously I've been chasing the ignition, thinking that we had problems with no spark because we were getting a little bit of a backfire when it started up again. However, we set up a little pop-up shop, for want of a better word, outside our shop today, and a man came over and had a chat with my wife who was running the shop, and he said about the van which was parked at work because I took it to work for a test drive this morning to make sure things were all good, and he said, and she said, it's got a few issues and what was going on, and he said, I've been in the motor trade all my life and I would say that's fuel related. So just before I started tearing things apart to put the new coil that I bought today, which was luckily not very expensive because I met with an good old friend of mine who happens to work at the coil, at the ignition place. But anyway, she said, do you think it might be fuel related? To which I said, well, let's peel the fuel line and see what the flow's like. So we've got electric fuel pump in here. So we pulled the fuel line, and lo and behold, it was full of air and a very poor, like sort of spitty fuel flow. So I had a look underneath, and I found that this, which I'm not sure if you can see there, look, and this, same again, is the state of the fuel pump, the fuel filter before the pump. So yeah, took that off, and then the pump starts much louder, much more fuel in it. Recheck the flow, like a solid flow, filled the bottle in literally a couple of minutes, and then fire her up. Took her for a test drive, and lo and behold, it's cured the problem. So just goes to show you, don't get too invested in one solution. Keep an open mind. But very serendipitous that man was there today and said, try this. So yeah, cool. At least we're sorted and we're back on the road with no problems. Great.